Man in front of you is not sick to put socks on shoes. It turns out that this is the special forces commonly used to conceal their movement skills. If you encounter kidnapping in the future, do not know how to escape. This video today can definitely save your life. Two top survival experts will demonstrate how to counter-track. They traveled to the Afghan border where thousands of kidnappings took place last year. The kidnappers are making a fortune from ransom demands. The reason there are so many kidnappings is because the robbers use a tactic of selling more for less by lowering the ransom. They disguise the success rate. Two men were strapped with zip ties to simulate handcuffs. Dave, who had experienced a chase, thought they should split up to increase their chances of surviving. The two agreed to meet tomorrow in the mountains, 80 kilometers away. This is not a problem for Matt, who can run 100 kilometers a day. They split up and their goal was clear. First, find a lower ground to unlock the handcuffs. The method is very simple: to tie the shoelaces of both feet through the handcuffs together. Then the air to make the action of riding a tricycle quickly friction as long as in a few seconds can be ripped off. Remember not to take them off with your hands and bury them in the sand so as not to leave a trail for the kidnappers. In addition, put all the reflective items on your body in your pocket, such as a watch. The other side of Matt, because no shoes, can only use the most primitive method of rubbing on the stone. When escaping, remember not to stand on the top line of the mountain. That way the robbers will be able to see you from miles away. Dave found that the next section of the road is very soft and easy to leave footprints. So there was the scene where he started to put socks on his shoes. Like this creek should not drink the bacteria in it, is easy to cause ill health. If you really cannot stand it, you can wipe a little on the body to cool down. Another reason why it is called anti-tracking is to learn to use the sand to leave tracks to confuse the robbers, and then follow the waterway to leave. On the other side of the mat found a few plants of slain flowers. In his eyes, this is a drink. Matt took off the petals and wrapped them in a bandana. Then he picked up a rock and kept pounding it. Soon the leaves and branches in the petals seeped out. This can give him minerals and energy. Then the dew is better to drink. He found some items left behind by others. This is good news for kidnapped people. Canisters like these can be made into alarms with just a string. This is where shoelaces come in handy. The shoelace will be unraveled to find that it is made of 6 ties woven inside. Can be very good to extend the length. Then find some gravel and put it into the can to make a sound. The next thing to do is to set up a tripwire. As soon as someone touches it, it will trigger the cans. Remember to choose a camp about 50 meters away from here. A bush like this, made of thorns, is a great natural shelter. On the other side, Matt encountered wild plants and the cliff was below him. There was less than half a meter of space next to him and Matt walked past without a care in the world, leaving the photographer at a loss for words. Dave found some dead branches and placed them at the entrance of the shelter, simulating the image of interlocking branches, so the robbers will naturally choose the main road to leave. Matt did not rest, but continued on his way. Although the night escape, we cannot turn on the lights to observe the surrounding environment, but you can use the North Star to identify the direction because the North Star is not moving. Matt, who had been traveling all night, managed to rendezvous with Dave, and they thought they should look for water first. But below them was a canyon nearly 200 meters deep. Every step must be taken with care in this situation. Try not to get hurt, leaving the robbers the chance to catch up. I wonder how the photographer kept the camera so steady. A place like this with dense vegetation is likely to have water around it. The two decided to set up camp here. How to pick a shelter location is a deep learning curve. Matt found a platform with a wide view back to the rocks. Assuming the robbers come from the front, they can clearly see and split from both sides to escape. Dave gathered dried branches and he planned to make a wooden manuscript. This is where the glass bottle comes in handy. Take out a nail and put the large end of the nail down. Glass bottle along the flat bottom. Around the repeatedly knock, you will get a regular edge of the flat bottom. This can replace the knife. In a few minutes, a new wooden draft will be ready. All Dave has to do is dig a deep hole to block the fire. Otherwise, the glow from the fire would be visible for miles at night. People must not know that in the wild cactus can save your life. Don't look at their spiky appearance, but they are actually very good sunscreen. Just use a stone to grind off the spikes on both sides. Then just cut open the pulp. Inside is equivalent to high-grade sunscreen. Can be applied to the face, but remember not to eat it, is easy to stimulate the stomach. If you're really hungry, you can try this plant. Has a very high water content. Watching Matt keep smashing the plant, Dave was very nervous to know that they are still being hunted. According to the propagation formula, this kind of knocking sound can be heard from 3 kilometers away. Matt thought it made sense and started to squeeze it with his hands, but the taste was hard to describe. Dave, on the other hand, thought it would taste better if he chewed it slowly with his mouth. Back at camp, the two started to divide the work. Matt was responsible for the fire and Dave went to find food. For Matt, nicknamed the son of nature, drilling for fire is just like playing with wood. This hand speed is really good. On the other hand, Dave had an unexpected harvest. He found that this area of soil color is very dark. There is a high probability that there is water under the surface. Sure enough, after digging a few times, Water came out, but it was very murky. Dave pulled out a thin paper instead of a water bottle using a scarf simple filter. Of course this cannot drink directly, need to boil over a fire. In the meantime, Matt found some hay to replace the mattress. The only thing they had for dinner was cactus to replenish some electrolytes. Afterwards, the two snuggled up together and fell asleep. When they woke up, they did not rush, but cleaned up the scene to avoid being discovered by the robbers. Everyone can use branches to pat the ground to cover up the traces. Do not use your hands to clean up. Suddenly Matt noticed a car 10 kilometers away. They suspected that the robbers had taken a detour to block the road. After observing, Dave was sure that someone was standing there, since it was not clear whether the other party was a good guy or a robber. The two men either came closer or turned around and left. Dave, with his special forces experience, suggested splitting up, not in view of the other side, and then slowly approach at a distance of 3 kilometers. Matt used his 5.2 vision, seeing the other side in uniform is obviously good people, then smiled slightly and told Dave to drop his weapon to avoid being treated as an outlaw. If you encounter kidnapping in the future, hope that this issue will come in handy.